All right, welcome to Nothing But Anarchy. I'm Chad Sanders, and I have two devices in front of me today because I am delirious, because I ate last night at Tim's house Sweet Chick. I had a bacon cheddar waffle, barbecued fried chicken, jalapeno hush puppies, and cheese grits. And then I was up in the middle of the night last night because of that.
Do you know what hush puppies? Why they're called hush puppies?
I think, didn't you just tell us this?
I don't know.
Why are they called hush puppies?
No, maybe I shouldn't.
Did you get this
say.
from True Detective or something?
No, somebody else told me this.
Why?
It has something to do with history.
Well, go ahead and tell us, Morgan. Now that you've made it a part of our opening segment, tell us.
Apparently, like when slaves were running, the dogs were chasing them. They would give them that.
Throw them fried cornmeal?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Happy Martin Luther King Day to you all. That is Morgan's slave history segment. So glad we got to that. Moving on. Morgan never changed. Morgan, I talk about you just about every single day now because everybody in my life knows about you. My friend this morning, somebody was like, I'm moving to DC, and one of my friends who you know was like, oh, he was recommending someone in DC who I should work with. And he was like, he said something like, oh, like he's like kind of like Morgan, but like not as good. Like, and I feel like that's how people feel about a lot of people. Anyway, okay, that's not the point. I'm delirious because I was up in the middle of the night on the toilet because of what I ate last night, because since you all must know. But there's a lot of shit for us to get to today. Today is one of those shows. Sometimes I come in here and by the time I stand in front of this camera, I'm like already so worked up about something that it's very easy for me to just like exercise it in front of you. Today, is not one of those days. And I think it's because of my delirium, the snow. It's like really nicely, beautifully snowing outside, which hasn't snowed this much in, Morgan tells me, 700 days. It was really nice this morning. I got to like wake up. There was snow outside. Let my dog out in the snow. She was like sniffing it and leaving paw prints everywhere and running around and stuff. It was really cute. But then I was stuck in traffic on the way in here. You guys don't care. All right, let's get to the point. The point is today we are flipping the show. So usually I come in and I can feel my chipmunk cheeks from these headphones. I hate the chipmunk cheeks. Usually we come in, what?
Sorry.
You all right?
Yeah, I was just pointing something to him.
Am I okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Usually we come in and we do the segments, and then when we get to the end of the show, we kind of like turn it on, we turn the lens on you, the audience, and we do like, okay, what questions were asked on Instagram? What did people comment? Blah, blah, blah. Something is happening right now. The reason partially why I ate so ravenously last night is because our live show is on February 8th. That's a Thursday in Washington, D.C. So I have about 3 weeks. Is that 3 weeks? How many weeks is that from Thursday? It's 3 weeks from Thursday.
Yeah.
Wow, that's pretty soon.
2, 3, yeah.
Okay. We gotta figure some things out. But live show's 3 weeks from Thursday, so like that's generally about how much time I give myself to like eat healthy, work out 3 times a week, and feel how I want to feel when I get to the thing. So why did I even mention that? Oh, that's why I ate gross yesterday, because that starts today. Now, regarding the live show, okay, there's a couple things we're going to talk about today that I think regard building audience and like just like building, let's call this an act, okay? Because I don't know what else to call it. Yes, it's a podcast. Yes, it's a show, but like those don't tell you what it is. Like this is in the way that, you might have a traveling, like improv group or an artist or the next thing or the next thing. Like this is an act. It has layers. Part of one of those layers is that it comes to your town and does its show in front of you. And I have been thinking since we set the date for the live show, I'm going into this because people ask me frequently. I just got a question this morning about like creative process on some of these projects and launching things. I've been thinking frequently about you, the audience, the consumer, the user, the watcher, the whatever, the commenter, because there's some combination of giving you what I think you want and giving you what I want you to have that goes into deciding what the material is, like what the run of show is for the live show. And I'm just going to be honest. I'm going to stop waving this iPad around. I'll just be honest. I recently had a conversation with Tim about Dave Chappelle. And I think every artist has the sweet spot is when what you want to give someone is the exact same thing that they needed or wanted. Like when what you have to offer and what you feel right offering, what you feel good offering is the thing that they want. And where there's a tension, I find, for any writer, director, actor, producer, comedian, comic, whatever, where there can sometimes be a tension is when the thing that you have, like the thing you feel inspired to give, is at odds with what the audience actually wants, like what they actually came to get from you. And I think that we sometimes, honestly, give too much generosity to the artist when they don't give us what we want and we say, oh, well, they're an artist. Like, they were so inspired. They just had to give us this thing that was ass, even though what I really came for was this. And what I see in Dave Chappelle right now, I'm going to co-opt Tim's words. Tim's words were, and I'm paraphrasing, so I hope I don't fuck it up, but like, there's someone who is doing a show, giving a performance, and also someone who in his own mind is taking some sort of stand. And his stand is against being told what he can and cannot say that offends LGBTQ communities, trans communities, etc. Let's leave the moralities of that just aside. The point for me is this. There's someone who is standing on a stage saying, this is what I want to give them regardless of what they want. And I think Dave Chappelle is probably at a place in his career when he has done so much of the former, which is giving the audience what they want, that he is either disenchanted with the audience and what they want, or disregards it altogether. Because he's like, I don't care. This is what I want to say. I don't care. This is how I feel. This is what I'm going to give you one way or another. Whether you order pizza or a burger or spaghetti, you're getting scrambled eggs. I don't care. I currently... And this I think is a mistake that many creative people walk into the creative path with. I came into this path with some level of entitlement around what my own vision was for what I wanted to give to the world. And I told myself, I'm going to write what I want. I'm going to create what I want. I'm going to spew what I want, regardless of what's marketable, regardless of where they're, and not in totality, not in absolutes, right? Like once I actually started to craft the things that I was making, like my book, I was sensitive to, okay, what are the market trends? Oh shit, George Floyd, now's a good time to put my book out. Hurry up, Simon & Schuster, like, let's go, let's do this. But like, by and large, I came into this, I think the way that so many young creative people do, which is my voice is special. I have something to say. I don't care what people want from me. I don't care what's selling in the marketplace right now. I don't care what the studio's like. I don't care. Like, I'm nice. This is what I do. And as a result, I watched marketers who pay very close attention to what audiences want and what studios want and just like what's already selling. I watched those people push to the front of the line regardless of their creative talents, because what they could do, even if they couldn't do what I could do, which is sit in front of a computer and write something compelling, or sit in front of Final Draft and craft a scene, they had something. We're going to talk about cheat codes later, and this is a cheat code. They had an understanding and ability to sell. Like they had an understanding of what was sellable and they had an ability to sell. And so they could reach over to people like me and grab at our plates and sucker us into giving them like, oh, that's so cute, Chad, that you're working on your little screenplay or whatever. Like, hey, do you think you could give me this thing for my thing? And then they take that and they run off and sell it. But that's because they're focused on something that's very important, which is the consumer, the audience, the marketplace. I think at this point in my path, I feel quite full with regards to my own almost selfish creative expression. I've done some projects that are, I think, quite artistic, have a very singular point of view, have been prestigious, have been complimented, have been written about, have been shared. But I think in my process, in my career, and in my actually like truly in my life right now, it is time to focus a little bit on what does somebody else need? Like what will be generous? If somebody comes to our Nothing But Anarchy live show and they only get 100% of what they I've seen already, like Morgan and I, we haven't talked about ticket sales. Let's talk about them afterward. But I think I know a dozen people off the top of my head who at least have said that they bought a ticket. And I think of all of them as super fans of this show. All 12 of them. I think of Morgan's checking right now in front of me. Don't do that, Morgan, because I'm gonna see your face. Whatever it turns into, Morgan.
I know.
So I can't believe you, Morgan. So what I'm saying is, what has brought me joy and some peace when I feel nervous thinking about our live show is think about their faces. Like, think about when you're standing in front of the room, think about who is looking back at you and what they need to walk out of that room with, what they need to go back into their life with, what they need to go back into their relationships with. I mean, just like with humans, what they need to go back and stew on. What do they need to go back and stir the pot on at work? What do they like? What thing that they tucked into a drawer somewhere that is truly their creative dream? Like, what's the thing that they need to go back and pull out and dust off and get back to work on? Like, think about that. And if I can literally like take myself out of it and just truly like be a conduit of reflection back to that, I think we will do a good job. That regards that, I think, I mean, I've heard so many artists offer this, and like, not to be too cute about it, this is something I have learned over time myself by trial and error, is you want to be like the whistle, like the wind blows through the whistle and the sound comes out on the other side. We're going to talk about cheat codes. Morgan asked me, or she brought up today as I'm sitting, I sent Morgan a 10-second clip of myself sitting in standstill traffic today. And this was either right before or right after we talked about the docket, but she brought up cheat codes, which I love. I'm always looking for cheat codes. Like I follow Tim Ferriss. I quite literally listen to probably 30 to 50 interviews a week because I am looking to hear somebody say one or two things in a conversation, maybe that they don't even know they're saying, that is poignant or that is insightful or that is ingenious, that can help me like get to where I'm trying to go just a little bit in more straight of a line. I ask people who I think are smart all the time, if you were trying to get from here to here, which steps would you skip? How do you skip the line on this? Morgan shared an example with me regarding cheat codes, which is you were watching Drink Masters. Excuse me. My nigger drink came out. What is Drink Masters?
So Drink Masters is a show on Netflix, came out a while ago, about mixologists that work in that are really respected in their industry, working in bars all across the nation. All of them, I forget how many started, but let's say there were 20 that started out. One of them was an at-home bartender, and she had never worked in a bar. She got famous off of creating really pretty drinks at home and showing people like you can do it too, basically. And she was the first one eliminated from the competition because in the show it was for people used to working in bars, quickly at mass volume of drinks, whatever. And so it kind of brought up like, you know, this new age of people getting places through social media, through TikTok, through like whatever, that get them to skip the steps of, you know, certain things to get to these levels.
Right.
Whether that's like good, bad, whatever that means. So I asked you about that.
And you said something that also stuck with me, which is like, sometimes it can seem as though cheat codes are built to skip the journey a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes the journey is important.
Yeah. And
that's something I want to try to dissect a little bit, because I think there's a truth in the middle there that is valuable. Because I do recognize that while I'm always looking for cheat codes, I also very much do enjoy the wander of it all. I'll tell you a cheat code that I think is bogus, right? I tell you a fraudulent cheat code that I think is dated and archaic, and it's lying in our face. I'm noticing yesterday I interviewed Nina Gloucester, who was my high school sweetheart. We went to college together. She and I were both English majors in college. I think she was an English major. Sorry. But I think she was. We worked together on rap shit. She's a writer. And she's been my friend for 20 years. She's almost like family. You know what I mean? Like, her family is like family to me. Like, her mom is like family to me. You know, so I did a 2-hour interview with her about love, which was, I think, turned out very, very, very strong. And I'm very excited to share that with the world when it's time, which will be soon. But immediately thereafter, I called her just to follow up, just to see how it went for her, see how she was doing. And we talked for another 50 minutes about the industry, just about the cold-heartedness, the snakishness, the savagery, the two-facedness, the weirdness, the capitalism of it all. We just talked about the same things people have been complaining about the industry for 100 years, right? Now we are those adult working professionals who pick up the phone and call each other and say, God damn, this shit is savage. And she has a life that has embedded in it more foundational blocks that are at risk when the industry blows in unpredictable or savage ways. She's got kids. She's married. She has a mortgage. Like, she has a lot, you know, that I don't have to keep upheld on top of this industry. And similarly, my friend Leon, I've known Leon since my freshman year of college. He's called into this show, screenwriter. We co-write things together sometimes. He and I pick up the phone maybe once every 2 or 3 weeks just to catch up, and we always land in the same place on every conversation, which is like, damn, this industry's fucked up. Those hour-long phone calls are like, with those types of friends from forever, are, in my opinion, so much more valuable than, and I'm getting to the thing that I think is archaic and outdated and is not true anymore, than any amount of like network that I have in this business. Like, I would trade 1,000 billion times over. I would trade my relationships to all the fancy famous people that I know for straight up just those two people, because we are in a new era now, and this is where I think there is a real, then your network is your net worth thing, I think is, at least for me, hugely broken. Does, like, you know, because I think it puts the focus on ingratiating yourself to people with power and access and accolades and track records, and those people are already so well positioned to take advantage of you once you meet them. Like, the deck is stacked in their favor. In my opinion, what's much more valuable right now in today is using the tools that you have to build something that makes people have to come to you. which is what we are doing here. That attracts the type of people who you want to come and make offers to work with you. Like, at the beginning of this, we set out with nothing, with like, you know what I mean, no listeners, no anything. 10 months ago, I guess that was 9 months ago.
Yeah.
April, right?
It was April 4th.
April 4th. So just over 9 months ago, which feels both longer and shorter than it has actually been somehow. But we set out and we were like, okay, let's go see like who, like if anybody wants to fuck with us as sponsors with nothing, right? And of course, the response is always like, well, can we see the numbers? And there were no numbers. There were no numbers. Now, I think what's likely to happen very soon, now that the numbers have shifted a lot, is that I believe that those conversations will start coming in our direction. Because I've seen that happen every time you run out there and it's like, fuck with me, fuck with me, fuck with me, work with me, work with me, work with me, help me, help me, help me. And you get the backside of everybody's ass, and then all of a sudden you put one foot in front of the other, and now people turn around and they look up and they raise their eyebrows and they say, oh, that's something interesting, let me go get involved with that. That's much more valuable than having a famous person's phone number and saying, hey, will you please read my screenplay, in my opinion. Cheat codes. All right, I don't have a landing point in this, but what I will say is we're going to talk about cheat codes more in a second, because I think the specific example you just gave about Drink Masters, the woman on Drink Masters, is like in my opinion, it is like the this is a good landing point. It is like the defining existential conflict of our generations. I would say millennials, Gen Z, Gen X, and these prepubescent creatures that are coming up behind Gen Z. Like, that is the tug and pull between what is true artistry and what is just somebody with a following is like something that I think so many of us are actually like sitting with and grappling with day over day in real time. Like, it's keeping people up at night. Like, how much I'm going to actually tell a story about a conversation I had when I was back home in DC very recently with someone who is truly having this existential crisis right now. But music first, and then we'll come back to it. Okay. I'm looking at the docket, and it has at the top of it, like, I asked Morgan to mine some legitimate arguments against some of the things that I have said, because we really do get higher and higher engagement now, and a lot of that engagement is like some people are just being assholes, some people are being positive, and then there's people in between who are like, they are supportive of the conversation and they just have a different point of view. And those ones I like, because I think there's something that I can go back and forth with a little bit on those on the show, not in the comments, not for me, not yet. Let's finish this thing on the cheat codes though. So, like I said, I'm always looking for cheat codes. I think that the thing about cheat codes, in my opinion, that is complex, or that is where there's conflict, is there are these two areas. One is, I think a lot of times the cheat codes are in broad daylight. Like they're like, people are offering them, they are yelling them from the rooftops. Like they are in every direction you turn, you run right into the cheat code over and over. But you try to force your own logic and your own point of view on how you want your journey to go through the cheat code. Here's my example. Maybe the first or second conversation I had with my manager when I was trying to get started in this, 2016, 2017-ish, was start having a presence on your socials. Start documenting your journey here. This is interesting to people. People will be into this. Quincy used to tell me the exact same thing. He's like, why are you not, this is like 2016, 2017, 2018. This is getting my first book deal, going to Hollywood with going to Hollywood with Spike Lee. This is writing on Grownish. This is sitting in the room with Kenya Barris. This is, driving around Calabasas with Terrence J and going in Kanye's house. And this is like, quite honestly, this is the stuff that is a lot more interesting than what my life is like right now. Like my life is like a lot more contained to a few processes and a different sort of group of people that I think I have a more productive relationship with. But that was a part of my life and a process that would have been valuable for people to see, especially people who are just getting started. But I used to tell myself the thing that I think a lot of people tell themselves, which is, one, I'm already so far behind the 8 ball on this. Like there are people who already have 10, 20, 30, 50, 100, 1,000,000 followers on these social platforms. Like I am behind. I also used to tell myself, I'm not good at this. That's what people love to say about social media. I'm just not good at it. I'm just like, I don't know my way around the apparatus. Like there is nobody who has that point of view on themselves who is less technologically savvy than I am. Like nobody who is under the sound of my voice right now who thinks that about themselves is less interested, or I should say less apt, to turn a camera on themselves, figure out the right way to format it, figure out the right way to hashtag it, figure out the right way to put it on their stories on this cadence, or share it with these people, or tag these people. Like nobody is less suited to do that than I was probably less than 3 years ago. The cheat code was obvious. Like my manager used to say it. I would go to studios and pitch my projects, and like at the top of the pitch, not the bottom, you would be asked to put on the top of my fucking book proposal, not the back page, the front page. How many Twitter followers? How many Instagram followers? Like, what is the size of this person's platform? We almost give too much magical power to these studios to think that they have some curative ability to like suss out who has a strong, special, poignant point of view and who's got the voice that's going to break through. They don't know that. They're doing what I'm doing now. They're looking at y'all to tell them that. And you tell them that by clicking follow on the people that you think are creative and interesting. I had a conversation in that same Dave Chappelle conversation, we were talking about Drewski, the comedian, who has tried stand-up but doesn't like it as a medium, as an art form. And the stalwart comedians, the Kevin Harts and such, they tell him like, yo, you got to get up here and do stand-up. You got to get up here and do stand-up. But it's like, when I think of Drewski, I don't actually think of a comic. I think of a producer. Like, that's what Drewski is to me. Drewski builds a world that you live in for 5 minutes, 3 minutes, 90 seconds. And he can play any part in it. And he can make you laugh. And he can make you think a little bit. And he can make you reflect. And he can give you his honesty in those snippets. Like, he's a producer. His cheat code, the reason why he's doing Sprite commercials and NBA commercials right now is because he built it. It's not because he did bit parts in little movies and shit like that. Like, it's because he did the thing that we all know is the thing. And I'm sort of sitting right now in a place where I can see the dimensions of this box. And if any one of y'all thinks if any one of you guys thinks you're getting around this to a New York Times bestseller or a green-lighted movie or whatever is your creative dream, if you think you're getting around it, like if you think you're getting around, I'll be specific, turning that fucking camera on yourself, self-surveilling yourself to tell people what you have going on. If you think you're getting around it, just remember that means you are doing something that Issa Rae was not able to do. Donald Glover was not able to do. Fucking Bo Burnham was not able to do. Like, the cutoff age at the people who have been able to pull that off reliably is like 40. There's a few exceptions to the rules, but that's because there's exceptions to rules. Like, you don't have to. You could do it this other way. And it's okay. It's not going to wreck your life. Like, it's not going to change, who you are in such an existential way that you don't recognize yourself on the other end. Like, I know I'm telling you something and you're looking at me and you're like, that's scary and I don't believe you. But like, what is scarier to me is that your dreams will never come true. This is what it is right now. But that's a cheat code that I wanted to ignore. It's just, it was right there in the box. It was right in my face. It was a headline and it was like, boom. Another cheat code is you got to give up bad money. Like, you got to say no to bad money. I spent 2 years working on direct deposit and man, am I proud of the creative outcome of that project. But it took so much more than 2 years out of me in terms of like what it cost me. What it cost me in emotional energy, working with the studio, trying to finagle, like trying to make the rest of my life work around it as such a bomb in the middle of my whole shit. Like, and I knew it at certain points that I could have pressed the eject button, but I had such Stockholm syndrome about being so deeply in it that I just couldn't get myself to believe things will be okay even if you don't finish this. And that's something that now that I've seen that as a cheat code, like life always fills in the 3 months in front of you that you think are just going to be empty if you turn down that other thing. Yes, Morgan nods because Morgan has 100 jobs and she's always being offered new ones. So that's another cheat code. But the thing, okay, now let me get to the point about the cheat codes. Like hearing them is step one, accepting them is step two. And then the third step, and this is, I think, where most people actually get fucked up, is application. Intelligence to me is not just the ability to absorb and spew information. And God damn it, so many men specifically think that's what intelligence is to know a fact, right? All right, now I'm just going on a slight detour here, but there are so many annoying people in my life. No, not in my life. There's so many annoying people who think that to know something is interesting, who think that to know something is valuable, who think that to know something and to be able to tell it to someone else is in and of itself a personality trait. And frankly, I am just learning how to process the frustration that I have with those people because they are the first people to offer you advice when you're trying to make something happen. And so often it is advice that they themselves have not used. Intelligence to me is the ability to absorb and apply information, like to learn it and to use it. And I find because of fear of putting one foot in front of the other, because of failure and because of ego that your theories might not be right, so many people stop after step one. You know that you got to do the socials to make things happen. If I asked y'all how to do it, you guys would be like, you got to build your socials up. You would say that to me. If I was like, hey, y'all, how do I get my next book to sell 10x the copies for my first book? I gotta hope and believe that none of y'all will be dumb enough to tell me, write a better book. Like, come on, man. I think the savvy among us and even the less savvy would say, you need to build your audience. You need to know who you are selling the book to and then sell it to them. Like, that part is easy, but the hard part is getting through all of your layers of ego that tell you why you're too artistic and too prestigious and too much of a good normal person to turn the phone on you and self-surveil yourself. And then the second step is like getting through the fear that you will turn that fucking phone on yourself and say yada 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 and nobody will care. This is a surprise question for Josh. Josh, I saw your ads start dropping for your
my course. Yeah.
Plug the course real quick.
It is Be Heard Volume 1, a better guide to conversational podcasts.
And where can people find it?
There's a link in my bio at Broken Podcasting on Instagram.
And I was like, I saw you in front of the camera and I was like, happy. I was.
No, I know.
Why are you laughing?
It's funny how you said that. You're like, I was happy. There was a pause.
I was happy.
Sorry.
Do you guys see what I mean when I say I'll just say some shit and Morgan will just like, she's not even on. It's like, anyway, you're the best. Never change. Josh, how did you feel? How did you feel like having your moving face and body so much like facing the people?
I'm not going to lie. I've watched that shit like thousands of times because it's still very weird to me. Like what you're saying is so true because it's like, if you are doing anything creative, and even though like, you know, selling a course, people might not see it as creative, but I'm the face of the course. Like, you know, people are not going to really fuck with you if they don't know who you are and have an idea of who they're dealing with.
Yes.
People have to realize like familiarity is key to selling anything. The more familiar you are to people, even if they don't know you, you have to make them familiar with you in some way, shape, or form. And I'm trying to do that. I'm selling ass just like you right now. Like I have a ton more promo. You're going to be seeing my face a lot. I'm going to be talking a lot. I'm going to be pimping this shit for a long, long time. So yeah.
Do it. Good. Sell ass, bro. By the way, I think this much is clear, but when I get indignant about stuff like this, like I'm talking to myself. I'm coaching myself up. Chatty, it is scary. Keep going. Like, keep doing the thing. It's so scary. Like, yes, Chad, you're going to keep seeing your little snaggle tooth on the bottom row over and over in these videos. You're going to think everybody's staring at it. You're going to think you look like a chipmunk because the headphones are squeezing your cheeks. But fuck it. Keep doing it. Yes, you're going to look at this video of yourself promoting the live show where you just look like you feel like such a nugget and you just feel like so chipper, like a fucking Alvin and the Chipmunks. But Morgan says it's good, so just post it. Like, just do it.
And it did get more views, likes, and comments.
It did. It got way more engagement. And I'll tell you what. And I think that was because Morgan was right. I think being approachable, being smiley, being showing people the side of me that actually is that person is much more welcoming, especially for a live show. And I did something in that video in the caption, which is quite subtle, I think, to the untrained eye, but it is important, and I've learned it over and over and over again as a cheat code. It seems simple and obvious, but you have to tell people what you want them to do with your shit. I wrote in that caption, please share this with whoever, whatever. And I came back to my phone maybe couple hours after having posted it, and 5 people had shared it. And like, maybe that sounds like nothing, but 5 people with 800 followers means about 50 to 100 people each if they put it on their stories, which means like that's 250 to, 500 new people that will see that video. And maybe 3 of them will buy a ticket. Like, that is good enough. So, I don't know, man. Yes, Morgan?
5 minutes to 1, just flagging. But also, did you want to talk about the journey versus skipping steps?
Yes. And this is something that I actually believe about. I think we're using language, right? We're bending language to try to make something make sense to us, which is I'm trying to get from here to there. How do I get there in a straight line as opposed to a squiggly line? That's what I'm calling skipping steps sometimes. Sometimes, like, this is, man, I read this in Peter Thiel of all people's books. I do not support Peter Thiel, but I read this in, what's his book? Good to Great? 0 to 100? One of those. 0 to 1? One of those. Whatever. He said, if you have a 5-year goal, see if you can get there in 6 months. Sometimes the goal is not what you're actually saying it is. Sometimes it's like, man, if you're telling me that your goal is to be on a TV series, sharpen the goal, because you can make a TV series. If what you mean is you want to be on a Hulu show, like, that's more specific. But if you're telling me like your goal is you want to have a podcast about soccer, God forbid. Like,
we need to unpack why you hate soccer.
I know.
So much.
I just don't get it. I'm just like, huh? But like, you could do that. That podcast could literally be live tomorrow if you so chose. So when we talk about journey versus skipping steps, I actually don't think there is any way to skip steps. I think it's like the steps are whatever are required to get to the thing. Sometimes we add steps that are made up because somebody else told us those steps were important. Like, I'm sure, not to keep using Issa Rae as the example here, but like, I'm sure before Issa Rae started Awkward Black Girl on YouTube, somebody told her the way to have a TV series is you got to go to film school, you got to go intern at a production company, you got to go shadow directors on sets. And maybe she did some of those things. I don't know the story itself, but like, the only thing that's required to have a TV series is to have a TV series. Like, and I do think it's okay to skip certain steps because you don't actually know where the journey's going. Like, maybe you're just jumping from lily pad 1 to lily pad 4 on your way to lily pad 25. But you don't, like, you can't see what's past lily pad 4. You're just trying to, like, we're talking about this live show. I could have told myself like, oh, well, there's some steps I got to go through before I do a live show and charge people for tickets. Like, first we got to do a freebie, and then we got to, reach X amount of, somebody would have told me 100% if I had asked somebody for permission to do this, they would have been like, well, you got to have this many downloads per week before you do a live show. If I go Google it right now, I'm certain there is some talking face blog person who is out there who would say podcasts only sell tickets if they have this many listeners and this size of audience, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But it's like, no, man, if the point of what we're doing here is at some end, I want to be performing for audiences, like, we can do that with what we have. There's nothing that stops us from that, because I don't know what comes after that. I don't know if maybe we get up there and then the next thing is that, oh, we sold out this live show and there were 100 more people who wanted to buy a ticket. Like, shit, we could have done 2. Maybe we'll come back next week. Maybe we'll come back next month, whatever. Maybe we'll do another one in another city. I don't know. I'm being very podcasty today, but this is how I feel. Okay, let's move on. Last thing I'm going to say about journey and cheat codes is cheat codes are part of the journey. And the journey, to me, enjoying the journey is not about like taking all the extra steps that people say are necessary. To me, it's honestly just about making sure you don't, for me, it's like reminding myself to be in each step as I'm in it, like to observe it, to feel it, to notice it, to enjoy it, to, if it's painful, feel the pain of it. Like, those are the things that I also am going to need later as I tell the story of what happened here. So that's how I feel about Journey and cheat codes. Yes, Morgan?
It's almost one.
Okay.
Should we go directly to calling him? Because I'm not going to be able to play the music to set that up.
Oh, okay.
So
let's call him. All right, this is an abrupt change, but we're about to call Quincy to talk about CJ Stroud's performance in the playoffs, in the NFL playoffs yesterday. Wow, that was incredibly abrupt. When we come back, we'll do what I said we were going to do at the very beginning, which was
what we said we were going to start.
which was talk about people's comments and responses to some of our stuff here.
all right, so ready to take a break?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then,
There'll be no music. Just anybody
okay.
listening.
Good.
Just FYI. We'll be back. Back. All right, let me call Quincy. You can hear the ring.
Yep.
Yo.
All right, Quincy.
Hello.
Quincy Avery.
Can you give me literally 3 minutes?
Yes.
Okay, give me 3 minutes to try to look at something. I gotta set up this podcast. So back here is bad, you saying? Okay, but if I could just do it right here for today, it's fine. Okay, perfect. Quest, I gotta do a call for work. I gotta do a podcast. Yes.
Quest is Quincy's daughter. She's 5.
She had a problem of getting it hot in the
Yes.
She's really cute.
Sounds
Okay,
really
well,
cute.
that's because it's winter now, babe. So it'll be cooler. But we'll talk about your secret room later. Can you give me 6? No talk?
This is good
Can you give me
content.
Nah, I'm gonna do it. I'll get you the toast sandwich.
Can I make it myself?
Okay.
Oh, Morgan, you can't hear this.
I know.
no, I can hear it now.
Oh, you can?
Well,
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you. All right, let me put my headphones on, y'all.
All right. No rush. We're just live.
No.
I'll start setting it up. All right. For anybody who doesn't watch NFL football, the NFL playoffs started this weekend. The Houston Texans, led by rookie quarterback CJ Stroud, beat the brakes off of the Cleveland Browns, led by Joe Flacco. And Quincy, I don't know how Quincy would say, but I'll say Quincy trains CJ Stroud. He is one of his pupils. CJ Stroud is one of Quincy's pupils. He set the league on fire this year as a rookie quarterback. He has been had one of the best rookie seasons ever for a rookie quarterback. And I, after each CJ Stroud performance lately, have been texting Quincy to prod him to peacock about the success of CJ Stroud, to like take a victory lap on how well CJ Stroud is playing right now, and he doesn't seem to want to, which it's like I can't totally put the pieces together on why that's the case, because Quincy is a strong marketer. Quincy is also I would say a flamboyant personality when it comes to being like raising his hand and being like, "Hi, I'm good. I'm really great. Like, look at me. Look what I can do." In a way that I think serves his business and probably himself. But Quincy, what's the problem? Why will you not take a victory lap publicly about CJ's performance?
Well, I think that I take victory laps in different ways, but I'd ever do it when somebody plays well. Like, oh, I did this, right? if somebody else says something, I oftentimes will repost it, but I'm never the one who actually says it. I remember the time on Football Night in America where Tony Dungy was talking about me. Like, I reposted that, but I would have never told anybody, like, hey, Deshaun played bad. He called me. We worked out on the field after the game. We fixed a lot of the issues. I met with the coaching staff. I gave them a plan for practice, and then he played his best game the week after that. I would never say those things, but if somebody else says it, like, yeah, I will repost that. But in the same way that if somebody plays bad, you have to take credit, then you'd have to do the same thing if you were the front runner on always broadcasting when one of your guys does well. Because I have a lot of guys who don't do well at the same time.
Okay. Well, all right. We'll come back to that. Here's what I'm going to ask you, Quincy. Do you think CJ Stroud was nervous in his first playoff game?
Yeah. I mean, undoubtedly he was nervous. I actually had an opportunity to talk to him a little bit before the game. He was nervous, but he was remarkably calm for somebody who was nervous, right? He's been through a lot of really big moments in his life that I think have prepared him for this situation, but he was definitely nervous.
I was thinking about you. I'm just going to be honest. I was thinking about you in the shower a few days ago.
Hey, yo.
And I was thinking specifically that what you do as a coach for these guys, I think there are probably translatable theories and methods that would probably work for high performers in a bunch of different arenas. Specifically, I was thinking about I'm about to do our first like proper live show in DC on February 8th, and you know, I grew up doing like plays, and I was on a kids show and like played sports in front of audiences and stuff. And truly, I do think that I got used to doing stuff in front of like live audiences as a kid, but I haven't done that in a really, really long time. Like not in a real way. You know what I mean? And I remember there being a certain level of nervousness that actually would be helpful to what it was that I was trying to do. But if it went too far, it would be bad. And if it was too low, I might not rise up for the moment kind of thing. But I wanted to ask you about like how much of what these guys, professional quarterbacks, like what they do is so in a microscope, and it is so much in front of a live audience of tens of thousands of people. Like, how much of an impact does the live audience have on them as performers?
I think oftentimes before the game starts, it has more of an impact than anything. Like as you walk into that arena, as you are hearing your name called as you run in. But then after the game starts, and I don't know if you experienced this when you were doing your shows, but they don't even hear the crowd oftentimes, right, until the play's over. Like they're celebrating and then they notice, but they don't hear voices. They don't see the fans. Like they see the football field. And they do such a great job of like compartmentalizing the thing that they're doing from all the things around the thing that they're doing. So the pressure happens prior to the play, or if they think about the result of what happens if I don't do this thing well, but it's not necessarily like hearing the fans roar or cheer. Yeah, it affects the communication, but it doesn't affect your mental every single play.
What do you teach them anything about drowning out that noise, or is that something that they show up ready to do when they're professionals already?
The guys that I have, the guys that I work with at the highest level, that's not something that I would work with them on, right? That's something that, like, maybe a mental coach or things like that. Like, the way that I coach mental is more so that they know that they're prepared for these moments, not so much like, let me give you the mental exercises so you're not thinking about this thing at this moment. No, all the things that I do mentally are so that they know that when the difficult shit happens, like, the most difficult part about doing the thing that you're required to do at the highest level happens, you're prepared and overly prepared. You've done something more difficult than the thing that you're about to do in the training session. So I want them to be my job is to prepare them in that way.
You also coach Jordan Love, is that correct?
Yeah, we've worked together.
You've worked together. He just annihilated the Dallas Cowboys. It looked like he was completely unfazed by to the untrained eye. It looked like he was totally unfazed by everything they threw at him. What is there anything that those two guys have in common in terms of preparation when they like to get up for a moment like this? It was a big moment for both of them. They were new to it.
Yeah, so the thing about being new is like you can't have confidence in a new moment because confidence comes from knowing that you can do the thing. But they're both prepared at the highest of high levels, right? I've worked with a lot of guys, and I don't think there's anybody who prepares better than those guys. Like Jordan Love has the advantage of being in Green Bay, Wisconsin, so there's not much else for him to do besides prepare for football games. I'm not sure people think about it in that way. Like his life is go from the office to home and still just want to prepare. There's nothing else. CJ Stroud is in Houston, a much different environment, but in the same way. He's the type of person that it's 9:30 and you're at his house and he's like, all right, guys, I'm going to sleep. Like, he doesn't care what you're doing. You could be in the middle of the most fun moment. Like, he prepared all day, and his schedule is his schedule, and he's locked into those things. So both those guys are supremely talented at being able to lock in on a particular task and doing everything that they can to prepare themselves for that moment.
Do you think it's possible to over-prepare?
I'm sure that there is a way that you could do that, but I'd be hard-pressed for an NFL quarterback to do it. One person who I know who is really anti-over-preparation is like Ben Roethlisberger, who didn't watch a ton of tape at all and was able to play at a high level. But the way that these two young men, CJ and Jordan Love, play, they play with such anticipation, knowledge of the defense, understanding what's going on, and they're required to do so much at the line of scrimmage in terms of making checks, getting in and out of plays, that they need all the information that they're gathering.
If those guys, because of that thing, whatever it is, their ability to like prepare, before you came on, I was talking about how like, to me, intelligence is the ability to absorb and apply information. Like if you can only absorb it and repeat it back, like a monkey can do that. You know what I mean? Like not to disparage monkeys, but like anybody can do that. Is there anything about these guys' ability to take in information and then go execute it in such a like crazy, fast, high stakes environment that you think would translate to their lives outside of football, or that you see translate to their lives outside of football?
I think that the processing that it takes to be good at football is so different than the processing other places. So I'm not sure where it would cross over. Where do you think it would cross over? It's a better question. I always like asking you questions like this.
I don't know. I think it feels amazing what they're able to do. I think the speed of it all is so hard to actually see on television. And I think that much just from having played sports like with Division I athletes who never even made it to the pros. Like the speed that they play with is already blur. It's already a blur. It's already mind blowing. So like the speed that those guys are playing with, the way things are coming so fast, it just makes me feel like, I don't know, maybe these guys could have been like Navy SEALs, surgeons. I think there's something there that's applicable in business, but I don't know exactly how to name it or what it is. I think it would be something around that level of preparation and then being able to believe in what you see and what you have prepared for. I does think serve you well in business and deal making.
I bet it would serve you well in deal making, finance. All those things were like, you really have to test the preparation you did and like stand on that shit, right? Like even when other people might like have doubts about the things that you're doing, you've got to be able to withstand that and stay true to your convictions. I think that you see that all the time with throws. Like there's probably a throw that you should make, but CJ's so convinced that he can do it or that it should play out this way that he makes it, and then oftentimes he's successful. And a lot of people lose because they see these opportunities and everything's telling them that they should do it, but there's just one small voice in their head that's like, nah, maybe not, and then they don't do it. And I think those are the things that prevent people from success more than anything else. But they don't have that. That's not a switch that they have. So, yes, they would be successful probably in anything that they decide to do.
Do you think either one of them are surprised by the success they've had this year?
No, I was actually in Austin with Jordan Love before this season, and he was talking about, man, this is fun. This is probably the last time I'm going to be able to do this.
Like, do what? Kick it?
You know what I'm saying? Like, when I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, do what? He's like, be able to just walk the streets and enjoy myself and no one bother me. Like, he knew what he was about to do. He knew he was about to, I want to cuss. He was about to F stuff up. Like, he was about to go.
You can curse, Quincy. Just don't fucking use any slurs. Jesus.
I'm just trying to, you know what I'm saying, keep it PC out here. But yes, you were afraid to offend monkeys earlier today, so I don't know what kind of establishment this is, dog.
So, all right, actually, that's really interesting. That's a box that I would like to open. So this man knew his life was about to change. He was about to be the type of, that is very much true. Like, his sponsorship dollars are about to go up crazy. He's not going to be able to walk the streets pretty much anywhere without people knowing he's Jordan Love. How did he sound or feel? Was he like, damn, man, this sucks that I'm not going to be able to do this anymore? Or was it just like a level of acceptance that my life's about to change?
I think that he just knew. It wasn't an excitement or anything like that. Like, just standard conversation like we're having. Like, this like a moment hit him like, oh, shit, this is probably the last time I'll really be able to do this out here with y'all. You know what I'm saying? Because he's gone out there with other, like, we're in place with other pro quarterbacks who had started a bunch of games, and the way that they were treated was a lot different than the way he was. And I don't think he was upset by it. He was just matter of fact, like, oh, okay, this could be a little bit different for me.
Last question, Q. Sometimes I, like, each one of my projects is very important to me. It has a lot of my own humanity and DNA inside of it. But once they're out and in the world, like, sometimes I look at them as almost like a portfolio of stocks or something. Like, you know, this one does well and it affects the other ones, and it gives me more money to invest into the other ones. And sometimes you got to cut one off because it's just not going to perform. It's not going to do it, whatever. Now, they're not people, but they are art, and I care a lot about that. You work with people, but also I imagine that each individual person you work with, like, their success or failure has some impact on your business. I don't know what that is. My question is, like, if, for instance, CJ or Justin Fields, like, goes off, blows up, and becomes the NFL's new, like, Peyton Manning, basically, or Tom Brady, are you able to quantify how much of an impact that does or does not have on your business?
You know, previously I probably would have been able to quantify that really well. Mm-hmm. But I think that I probably hit, like, the tipping point beyond, like, the individual success of my guys right now. Like, one guy could do good or whatever, and it doesn't really affect my bottom line in that way, unless they're, like, coming to a camp or something. But that might change some camp dollars, but doesn't change much else. The only thing that I think really moves the needle for me right now in a crazy way is me being more front-facing, like forward-facing about just things that I know or things that I see, which turns me more into the voice of quarterbacks. So, like, the voice about quarterbacks. I think I've done all I can do, because there's more people I can help. There's more people I want to see and really be successful. But I don't think that there's really more that I could do in terms of, oh, he trains this guy and this guy too. Like, I don't think people care about that anymore. Like, I train enough guys. I train more than anybody else. So who is the next person that I'm competing with in that market or that facet? So now, yeah, I kind of see it.
Now it's more about, like, brand building. Now it's more about people knowing your face and applying that to what you do.
Yeah, knowing me for me. Mm-hmm. Like, not that CJ Stroud trainer, but, oh, that's Quincy Avery, the guy who talks about quarterbacks in this way or helps people understand this. Oh, but he also trains all the best quarterbacks? Like, I need people to say that second, not first.
And do you think there's a cheat code? Like, do you think there's something that you can do or execute, or some way you can make yourself get lucky that will like speed that curve up, or like hit a 10x for what you're trying to do there?
I think so. I think I'm working on a couple of those things now. Like they're in the works. Like contracts have been signed, so we'll see. But you never really know. But I think that it'll 10x me. My bank account will find out soon.
All right, Q. Thank you.
You done with me?
Yeah, I'm done with you. I got 10 more minutes left of the show, and that was everything I wanted to know for now. Well, good luck to you guys this next weekend. It's been really fun following them and rooting for them for you. So, goodbye. Get out of here. We got what? 10 minutes left? Yeah. Why are you laughing?
I'm done with you.
He asked. He said, "You done with me?" And I was.
Do you want comments or the Sopranos thing?
I want to do comments. Are we still live?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Hi, guys. All right. I want to do comments. Let's do comments. What was the Sopranos thing?
That dumbing down television.
No, that's so cranky. I'll come back to that. But sorry. We're gonna do better with transitions next episode. All right. Now we're going to do this. I'm gonna try to get in I want to desensitize myself a bit to the comments, and this is a way for me to dip my toe into the lukewarm areas of the water, not the boiling hot or ice cold frigid air. Like, I want to be able to absorb some comments and respond. So, Morgan, would you please go one by one through these comments and give me the context of what they're responding to, and then read the comment, and I will give my own response. I'll say either why I accept that I was wrong or why I still know that I'm right.
Okay. So the next three that I'm talking about are in the context of your awards ceremony reel. Mm-hmm. The first one is the awards matter. The televised ceremony, not so much.
And I think the next one is also related to that, right?
The next one is also those award shows lead to people getting new shows greenlit and new talent getting promoted. So I guess both of those are related to kind of the same thing.
Yes. So I think I actually plucked the second one because my argument was that these awards the value of the awards themselves is diminished. It's diminishing. It's dwindling. It's getting smaller and smaller and smaller because the audience that cares to watch these shows is getting smaller and smaller and smaller. And I don't know if I made this point super clear in my reel, but the brand awareness of the awards themselves dies a little bit every single day. An old person passes away and a new person is born. I believe that my generation cares less about who wins an Emmy than the previous generation. I believe Gen Z cares less than we do. And I believe the kiddies right now don't probably even know what an Emmy is. Like, don't care at all.
That's not true.
Maybe not. That is a supposition because, like, we both work in production. And I'm saying kiddies, meaning people younger than you, Morgan.
Yeah.
So don't defend the kiddies. Like, last night, this was the full expanse of my Emmys awareness last night. Last night, I'm playing cards at Tim's house, watching football. Somebody says, "Oh, the Emmys are tonight." Or maybe Morgan then Morgan texts me. She's like, "I'm about to try to do something ambitious. I'm going to try to watch the entire Emmys." And then she follows up with a text telling me that she has failed to do so because she does not have a streaming service that is showing the Emmys, which, like, is part and parcel why I think that the Emmys and these other award shows are going to go away. Like, you could watch that NFL game on multiple streaming services last night, and millions and millions and millions and like dozens of millions of people did so. That is an immovable object as far as ratings are concerned. The NFL cannot do anything harmful enough to humans, civil rights, science. Like, they cannot do anything to make me stop watching football or anybody else. That's what it seems like. The Emmys, I did not even know were on. I am a screenwriter. Like, I am a TV writer. I did not know the Emmys were on until Morgan told me. Like, I don't have my head in the sand. I'm on the internet. You guys see me there. Like, none of y'all told me the Emmys were on. Nobody asked a question about the Emmys. I just all of a sudden start seeing photos of black women holding Emmys, which is great. I'm not trying to hold y'all. That's great. I'm happy. Your dream came true. I personally just know if I walk into Netflix with an Emmy and Kai Cenat walks in with no Emmy, but 200 million followers on YouTube, like, and yes, I'm being hyperbolic, but I'm trying to prove the point. One of us is getting a meeting. We're both getting a meeting, but like, if it's coming down to we got $10 million to spend on a show for this guy or this guy, like, he's the guy. He wins. And I think that discrepancy increases, I think, more and more year over year. But you know what? Let's sit on this one, y'all. Let's see. 5 years from now, right now, what did I say? 8 million people watch the Golden Globes. 9 million people watch the Golden Globes. Let's see where we're at 5 years from now. Okay. The next one, Morgan, can you give me the context?
On the same reel, but kind of referring to something different. Somebody said, depends on what your definition of matters is. The Cat Williams video doesn't necessarily matter more than the Golden Globes or the Academy Awards. It's just more popular.
Okay.
Before you answer that, do you know who wrote the comment?
I can find it out.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt the flow, but I think that'd be a good thing to add.
It could be. I'll respond to it, though. So, like, okay, this is a thing for me about comments altogether. At a certain point, we can do a semantics exercise of tweaking, and like, the thing that makes it difficult to sit in front of a microphone and speak in general is, like, you can always find some sort of but like surface area to try to undermine the point that's being made. Certainly, I can never say definitively that one thing matters more than another thing. All I can say is all we can determine is we can't say who should be the president. We will only know who is the president based on, like, who decided, how many people decided this person is going to be the president. And yes, I understand there's a case against that, but, like, matters as far as I think a network is concerned, as far as I think I am concerned thinking about these things, to me, is how many people voted with action that this thing is something they want in their day. This thing is something they want in their mind. This thing is something they want to share to with another person to represent them or for conversational fodder. And, like, when you tell me that the Cat Williams interview doesn't matter because fewer people watched it, I don't know how we're ever going to if we're going back and forth and it's an argument, I don't know how we're ever going to get to any, like, concrete definitional sort of answer that determines one thing over the other, if not to point to, well, how many people watched this, how many people engaged with it, how many people shared it. That's kind of all we got. Like, and furthermore, the only thing I actually know from the Golden Globes at this point is that somebody bombed the opening monologue. That's literally the only thing I know about it. I don't even know who won. I only know that the beginning of it was bad. So, okay. Did you figure out who said it?
So the second comment was Black Tina. The first comment, or the Cat Williams comment was Rent Belch. And the first comment, I can't find.
And to be honest, like, when I'm looking at these comments in passing, what really does matter more to me than who has said the thing is, like, what is the argument that's being made? Because, like, that's more important to me than, unless it's Shaq, that's more important to me than, like, I can't I'm not going to do the work of going and seeing, like, all right, who said this? What's their life like? What are they about? You know, that almost feels like too much context for me to have if I'm going to rebut. Excuse me. All right, last one. Let's do one more, Morgan.
The Obamas, this is in context to your Obama reel.
Okay.
The Obamas are an example of growth as individuals.
Okay, my Obama reel was me saying I don't want the president making movies, or I don't want to watch the president's movies, even though I watched that one. And this particular comment there is a species of comment, which is commenter taking up for famous person. Taking up for them almost like for their human right to do X, Y, and Z, whatever that thing is. And I think I said in the episode, if not in the reel, I certainly cannot stop the president from making movies. In fact, I feel like no one could stop the president from making movies. So I have no say whether or not that is going to take place. I don't know what form of growth this expresses other than like what I do want to say is, man, 90% of famous people who make movies, I asked my friend who works at Netflix, I was like, what am I supposed to think when I see that the Obamas made a Netflix movie? And his response was, define made, meaning like when you all see a famous person's tag as executive producers or producers on a TV show or a movie, most of that means that they were in some creative person's way who had to get through their notes to get their vision off. Like that to me is not the same as some sort of artistic personal growth. So I stand behind that one. I think the first one had something to it. I think the second one was just trying to obscure at the second comment about your definition of matters. I think that was just sort of obscuring language and being a little bit obtuse. And the third one, I dismiss altogether. I don't think the Obamas grew by having a vanity production credit.
Industry switch.
Huh?
Maybe his dream was to make movies as a kid, and he became the president.
Damn. That sucks for him, man. He wanted to make movies, and he became the president. Okay, this has been Nothing But Anarchy. You can find us at Chad's. You can find me at Chad Sand on Instagram. You can respond to us by DMing Moby Williams at Moby Williams on Instagram. You can come to our live show in Washington, D.C. on February 8th. Tickets are available right now at the link in my bio on my Instagram at Chad Sand. Where else can they find the tickets, Morgan? What's the website?
The Shanklin Hall
You can also find them on the Shanklin Hall website, which is what? shanklinhall.com?
Mm-hmm.
shanklinhall.com, February 8th. That's a Thursday. Doors open at 7. I'll be on at 7:30, Washington, D.C. Tell a friend. And that's it. Goodbye.